What's up guys, I'm Paul the Tech Giant and welcome to the channel where today I'm going to be telling you what are the worst things about this 55-inch LG B1 OLED. Now what I would ask you to do is also watch my best things about it video about the LG B1 OLED because I want you to understand the pros and the cons of this TV. But overall, trust me, it's not a bad TV at all. Now the first worst thing about this LG OLED is to do with gaming. Now whilst this B1 OLED does support HDMI 2.1, so 4K 120Hz, if we go into the 4K TV details on this Xbox Series X, you will see that it says your TV setup doesn't support Dolby Vision for gaming at 4K 120Hz. Now we can see up the top there, it says your TV supports 4K UHD at 120Hz, but not for Dolby Vision gaming. Now this is a shame because on the LG G1 and I think the C1, they had an update which added this, but it would seem that on the B1 it's either not getting it or just not got it at this moment in time. And that's just correct at this time of shooting. So please just bear that in mind because it may be added at a later date. Next worst thing about this TV is the short and fixed power cable. So the power cable on this TV is epoxy 1.5 meters long and it barely reaches to the other end of the TV. And as you can see, I've had to put an extension lead and shove it all up behind the TV, which isn't ideal. And it would be good if they could just allow you to remove that power cable and fit a longer one. But sadly, they fix it to the back of the TV, which doesn't allow you to do that. So that is the next worst thing about this TV. Next worst thing about this TV is the apps menu, or should I say home menu, apps menu, whatever you want to call it. So if I just get the remote control and press on the home button, we get this full screen like setup, which I am not keen on. Now on the previous OLEDs, if you was to press that, you would just get the apps list pop up over the top of whatever you were watching, which was handy because if you just wanted to have a browse, then you could do so without interrupting what you're already watching. Now the good thing about that was, say if you hovered over Netflix, it'd come up with a sub menu above, giving you suggestions, where now we have this full screen setup, which does have suggestions on it, but you've got to scroll through it. And I just think it's a bit more intrusive than it was having the pop-up menu on there. Because like I say, you may just want to have a browse and don't necessarily want to commit to going into one of the apps. And I think a lot of people do agree with me that we would rather just have this pop-up apps list if we wanted, maybe do a long press instead to get up this full screen menu. So that is the next worst thing about this TV. Next worst thing about this TV is the no signal box. Now, loads of people complain about this. So what this is when you've got maybe an external device that's connected to the TV and you're on that input and that device is then turned off, you'll get this pop-up saying no signal, which is fine, but a lot of people would just rather have this lovely artwork pop up instead and just have that running. But you cannot do away with that no signal box. There is a thing in the settings that says to do away with the no signal image, but all that does is remove the artwork and not the actual box. And so many people are crying out for LG to just simply put a thing in the settings where you can remove that no signal box. So that is the next worst thing about this TV. Next worst thing about this TV is the automatic brightness limiter, or ABL. Now, what exactly does this do? Well, it limits the brightness of the TV to protect it. So when you get a very bright image on the screen, let's say the screen goes all white with maybe a bit of text on there, something like that, maybe on an advert, the screen will go very bright, then all of a sudden that brightness will be reined in. So it's almost like a flash, it goes bright and then dim again. It's not ideal, but that's just the way these TVs are. Other TVs don't do that because they can have a higher peak brightness, so you don't get that brightness being pulled back down. And some people do not like that, so that is why I am mentioning it. So that is the next worst thing about this TV. And the final worst thing about this TV is, just like all OLEDs, it's the risk of burning. Now, I get a lot of grief off people for mentioning this, but I've got to mention it because not everyone is aware of it, and I couldn't live with myself if someone was to buy a TV off the back of one of my videos and then a couple of years down the line gets burned and it said, well, Paul, you never told me about it. So that's what I'm doing. So yes, you could get burning from this TV. The risk is very minimal though, that's what I will say. And there is lots of burning prevention features on the TVs nowadays. So the risk, like I said, is very, very low. And if you don't know what burning is, I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a static logo up in the top left-hand corner there from your favorite channel. You will watch that channel day after day, week after week, and then you decided you want to start watching something else. There's a good chance that if you'd watch that for long enough, that the image of that logo will be permanently stuck up there. So when you're watching something else, you can still see it. So yeah, simple explanation of it there. I won't get too technical, but you know, it's not an ideal situation really. Basically, it will ruin the screen. But like I said, it is very, very minimal. Please just bear that in mind, but I've got to say it and please understand why I've got to mention it. So that is the final worst thing about this TV. There you go then guys, and hopefully you've found that useful. And like I said at the start of the video, please also watch my best things about video. I'll put a link for that in the description. Now, if you have enjoyed this video today, please spare me 1 second of your time just to hit the thumbs up button. It really makes a difference to the channel. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel and you'd like to see more content like this in the future, then please consider subscribing. And it's very important that you hit the bell icon so you get notified of my latest uploads. So thanks very much for joining me today, and hopefully I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye for now.